cost of it is about 4 to 5 times higher than oil.
What I'm sorry, what?
Renewables, you say
No,
renewables are more
renewable,
expensive.
solar, wind, all that stuff, it makes up
But like this gentleman said back
he
there.
has a concept which I've thought about for many, I'm in the energy business.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a concept I thought about, you know, why doesn't everybody in New York on their you know, the co-op building have a, you know, bunch of solar panels to heat the water like your house or whatever. But the reality is the amount of energy that this country consumes, and I know that
Far exceeds what we can get
is,
from alternative energy.
far exceeds it. The other solution, which no one wants to really address, and certainly not in this country, even though we invented it, is nuclear. We built a nuclear power plant in 32
Because
years.
you can't get rid of the
In Massachusetts,
waste.
they just did right off the Cape too. I looked at these two big monsters that they built, but
So the wind farms,
the wind farms and well, the nuclear
the
power
one
plant
in Nantucket,
in Buzzards Bay, they just built one off Buzzards Bay. But remember, I'm also a consultant for hazmat removal companies and soils. I'm a soil specialist by accident, and you know how much it is to truck hazmat material? You know how much it is to truck hazmat level nuclear waste? It's a fortune, and the fossil fuels that you use to truck it, to bury it, to get rid of it, it just far exceeds the benefit that you get of it. And then, you know, I just look at areas like Chernobyl in Russia.
this all goes back to something you said, I don't know, 20 minutes ago. You know, what you need versus what you want versus buy more versus,
Yeah.
you know, at some point there's an inflection point, a crossover point between what the demand is, what people are willing to do, and what the abilities are to produce it at some economic cost that people will tolerate.
And
That's been the dilemma.
you've all heard of the Gaia theory, right? James Lovelock was the author with Lynn Margulis, who was one of my
Oh,
professors.
yes.
She's a microbiologist, but James Lovelock was a physicist. He was the guy that his books got me started when I went back to NYU. He just recently came out and said, the only thing that can save us is nuclear. And all of us looked at him like, what are you saying?
Out of his mind.
But he knows the human race, and we're just not, you're right, we're just not going to do these things because there hasn't been a catastrophic need to make change.
In France, 80% of their energy
Is nuclear.
is nuclear.
What
But
would be,
but I think
20% of ours is, and we invented it.
But their property taxes are like out of control.
You
So
gotta
we-
pick and choose. I mean, what do you want? I mean, you know, okay, let's go do, everybody go balls to the wall for alternative, but is everybody gonna tolerate a utility bill that's
but-
5 times higher
But
than
I
what it
just
is
don't,
right
you
now?
know, I went to Florida, I work in the Keys, and I know this block of people that use solar. They're off the grid. A guy here in Little Neck, he spent 30 grand, he's off the grid, he watches his meter go back. So he's doing it. So that's what, either I'm an idiot or I just can't figure out. I see people that are doing it, they're off the grid and they're putting it back.
One concept that was worked on at commercial levels in
They're
the
doing it.
90s, cogeneration.
what would happen, have people done studies on the power that would be conserved if people turned the lights off at nighttime when they were asleep?
Yeah, there's a lot, yeah.
Seems to me there's an awful lot of
Waste.
waste energy.
people,
Just
people
Everybody had to
don't.
learn
lights
that with
on
their
in
computers
New
10 years
York
ago.
all night long. Nobody in the offices.
You know, I remember my father, it was
There's
like
a lot of simple
It's called
stuff.
a
conservation.
lot of simple stuff that the old timers, my father, I hear my father, and I teach my son the way my grandfather taught me. You turn that light off.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't waste. What do you
12 years ago, people would leave their computers, their desktop PCs, before even laptops were prevalent, on 24/7,
mean? Right.
not realizing that PCs at that time, 98, 99 PCs, 2000 PCs, used damn near as much electricity as a refrigerator.
Right. Yeah, they're deadly. I set my you know, you have this goes to sleep switch on your computer. I do that. My basement refrigerator, I pull the plug out. In the summer, I plug it in again. So I try. You know, we can try to lower our carbon footprint. You know, just I was telling Wayne the other night up in Cape Cod, my boiler's going. So I went out, got estimates for a new boiler, and I looked at the breakdown of the estimate, and it was $500 for a Burnham 95% energy efficient boiler. I said, how is this possible? $5,000 was for all the plumbing, getting rid of the old tank, and I couldn't believe it. And the energy companies subsidize it. So if you buy this boiler, I mean, that's what they should be doing with solar, but they're not making money off it. They will make money off that burner because you you're gonna use it for natural gas. So, National Grid gives me a rebate and this big
We got it.
cheapo price for a boiler for $500. If I
Some
burn their
fuel
gas.
oil companies will do that, LIPA
Yeah.
will do things.
Yeah. And that's what they should be doing with solar.
Well, they are around here.
But-
LIPA had a, they do,
I
the
didn't
Solar
know that.
Pioneer, it's heavily subsidized.
Really.
Yeah, the state had a program for a number of years where they
Cut it off.
subsidized solar. And Germany, of course, had huge subsidies for solar, and now a very large portion of their farmers are generating electricity.
Yeah. It's great. Germany, I visited Germany. I love the way the Germans do things. It's just, even the kids, they wouldn't think of throwing a piece of gum wrapper in the street. They just wouldn't think of it. It's just completely illogical. The buses, there's no cigarette butts, and there are recycling cans everywhere. Their factories have solar panels. Wow, the Germans are doing it right, man. It's just, and I just look at what the kids, even going into a baseball field, just they're eating lunch. They throw something in, it's on the floor. There's just the kids, man, today. I just don't get it, man. They're not in touch with the environment, and that's why it tells me that a lot of my energy now is going towards education, teaching these young knuckleheads, where it's at, because someone had to teach me and slap it into my head before I really realized it. If you want a planet to live on that's cool and fun to do stuff, you gotta care, man. It's really cool to care. I believe that.
Yeah, Germany,